Hello and welcome to what is going to be the final regular season edition of the CHGO Red Stars Podcast. It's presented by Coors Light, the official domestic beer partner of the Chicago Fire. Chicago, choose chill. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Soccer to get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. That is right. The Chicago Red Stars, ladies and gentlemen, are going to the playoffs. It is a thing that in Chicago sports in 2024 was, until this point, unheard of. They will be the only top-level Chicago sports team to make a playoff appearance in this, the year of our Lord, 2024. We're going to talk about it because they've done that despite playing some pretty miserable soccer recently, and there are other extenuating circumstances. Joe Chats has stuck around. He was only supposed to be here for the Fire show today, but he's so excited about Chicago soccer. He wants to talk about the one that gets to play more.
Also got a really good parking spot, so I just didn't feel comfortable giving it up this early.
Parking around the CHGO studios is abysmal these days. Thank you to Chicago Transit or whoever who made it all locally zoned.
Chicago Transit. No, thank you, Mayor frickin' Daly.
Yeah, because it's all going to the UAE, right?
Yeah,
that's who we're paying. Yeah. Right,
until
great.
2084. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, can't wait till that's over. Yeah, could be there. Anyways,
we'll be buried under the parking meters by that point. Lawrence Benedetto, you've heard him already. He's behind the scenes for us today.
Hello.
What's up, Law? Today we're going to recap how the Red Stars have gotten here, because it's been kind of strange.
Oh, yeah.
How it looks ahead. We've got some U.S. women's national team talk at the end of this, too, because that's always good to throw in, because the regular representatives will be there for the Red Stars, though probably not playing very much, because this is one of those camps where if your club team is bad, you get to play more. Because there are 3 games in this window for some reason. That reason is money, because Victory Tour. But we will get to that later. So, Joe, as we talk about how the Red Stars have gotten here, it is worth starting by remembering where they began this year, 2024. This is a team that was dead last season in NWSL, although, funnily, their record last year going into the final weekend would have left them this year still in the playoff chase. That's how top-heavy the NWSL is this year. And there's 2 or 3 teams that are as bad as the 2023 Red Stars were.
Expansion teams, baby.
Yeah, so I mean that happens. So it's this club was in a total and complete mess. No coach, no GM, not very many players because, understandably, given the circumstances, everybody who could left. And they are in the postseason in year 1 of whatever this ends up looking like. Last year they won just 7 games. They won 10 this year. It's progress. It's easy to feel like, oh man, this team still isn't great, but I think it's all relative in this situation, because for year 1 of, again, whatever this new era is, you've got to call this success.
Absolutely. Everyone has performed, at least when they've been healthy and on the pitch. You see a vision. You see a team that took advantage of the last NWSL draft. If we want to go through that draft class, they absolutely nailed it, and I don't think you'll ever be able to get that much talent for that cheap ever again in this league. But this team making the playoffs is a win. Whatever happens is bonus, but this team making the playoffs is a win, a massive win, because it was so tough to watch last year. It was not fun. Being in pressers after 5 or 6-0,
it was sad.
I have PTSD. Not making fun of it. But, seriously, this team just being competent this year and having the ability to turn games on their head and to control pace even if you're not on the ball while doing it, this team it is a success, without a doubt.
So the last month, since we last had one of these podcasts, the Red Stars have played 4 games. They won just 1 of them, which you may ask, how did that translate to qualifying for the postseason? We'll get to that. On September 29th, they lost 3-1 at home to the North Carolina Courage. That was the Ashley Sanchez show. She's going to get a shout-out later because she's rightfully back in the national team.
She's so good.
Denise O'Sullivan scores an absolute banger in this game, too. Carolyn scores on her return because why not? We did get a ridiculous Ludmila finish in the 68th minute for some nice consolation. She was about 5 yards from the end line and just bent one top corner. Otherwise, the Red Stars were thoroughly outplayed. Next game up was in Houston on October the 4th. The Dash are horrible. The Dash are really bad. I love Yuki Nagasato, Red Stars legend, but setting our appreciation of Yuki aside,
We love you.
The Houston Dash are terrible. You got to win these games. They do. Ludmila scored for the third game in a row. That came off a nice free kick delivery by Mallory Swanson. As we'll talk about in a few minutes, that's Mal's only goal involvement in the last 3 months. That's not wonderful. And then during a ridiculous amount, fittingly, of NWSL first half stoppage time, Ali Schlegel buried the penalty, which, and this is two sides of a coin here, finally, it took us a long time. Mallory Swanson is no longer on penalties for the Chicago Red Stars. It took her missing another one for that to happen. It's okay that it's not her elite skill to make a not fair comparison, but I'm going to do it. Leo Messi was bad at penalties until he was like 32, 33. No one ever understood why and by bad, I mean he was totally average after being a god at everything else. He just wasn't above average at penalties. And now in his mid to late 30s, he's amazing at them. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it's just not her thing. Yeah. And that's okay. Ali Schlegel buries it 2-0, get the win. That's what they needed. That was a must-win game. So they come back home, and they lose 2-0 to Gotham. Clearly, the Red Stars were playing for a 0-0 draw, which, given that Gotham were playing their totally legal and not overpaid entire all-star starting 11, is the right thing to do, because that team, you just kind of give them the ball. You're not going to win a track meet with that team. It was going great until 5 minutes to go when Carrie Riccaro decided to slide through the back of Ella Stevens. Lillian Williams scores the PK. She becomes the highest scoring American pro women's soccer player in all competitions. She was already in just NWSL terms the top scorer, but when you factor in like Summer Cups and that weird COVID tournament they did and other things, because this league has changed a bunch over its history, Lynn Williams has now scored more goals while contracted to an NWSL team than anybody else. Esther then had a nice goal to cap it off at 90+7. Gotham just has the Red Stars number. Yeah. There's been several games the last couple of years where like the Red Stars have done enough to get a win or a draw, and then weird shit happens in the final few minutes and it all goes away, and it's just not explainable.
Yeah, that one, I still don't really think it was a PK. I find, proper football, that's not a PK.
Okay, it was wearing a Millwall jersey.
Exactly. Go, just stay up. The attacker went down. Riccaro went for a 50-50 ball. It wasn't an honest whatever. It was frustrating to watch. Juan Carlos Amoros, though, went berserk on the sidelines and got a red card, so that was entertaining for all parties involved. But Gotham is a really good team, and it was a litmus test for the Red Stars ahead of the postseason and what they're going to have to face. They played a perfect game for 85 minutes-ish, and then it all fell apart. And you have to play a perfect game if you're the Red Stars, if you're going against quality like Gotham.
Yeah, the Red Stars' clear current plan of how to beat teams that are much better than them, and this is the right idea, is to bunker, tire, and just basically bore your opponent to death. And then somewhere in the second half, when you get the opportunity, throw your elite attackers forward, steal a goal or two, and then defend for your lives. It's not a pretty way to play soccer, but it's how Jamaica got to the knockout stages of a World Cup. So you're gonna figure it out.
Works on the road. It works on the road. At home, they need to change things. They've not been good at home all year.
Yeah, it's weird.
And if defensive works on the road, you gotta be aggressive at home when you have the best players.
Also, the PK had to be given because Ella Stevens had to have a goal involvement officially when playing the Red Stars. That seems to be a rule now. However, after this game, the Red Stars officially qualified for the playoffs, and they did that because the Washington Spirit beat Racing Louisville. Yay?
Oh, I mean, it came back to haunt them the next week. But yeah, a postseason burst's a postseason birth. It shows everything about how the Red Stars position themselves by taking advantage of games against Utah earlier in the year. You got to win those early games against expansion teams. Didn't do it against Bay FC, both games, but those games mattered, and we're seeing why. We always knew every time we've talked this year, Alex, the end of the year was going to be the toughest part of the Red Stars schedule, and we're seeing exactly why. They got the win against a terrible Houston team, and they're getting kind of whooped by some of these teams.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. They got, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they got 12 points out of the Dash and the Utah Royals.
Yeah, you need that. You need that.
They did the thing where you beat up the bad teams, and that's 12 of their 32 points. That's a not insignificant amount of how the Red Stars have gotten here. You mentioned the next following week. This last weekend did not go well. They went to Audi Field in front of a very nice sized crowd. The Spirit are doing a whole lot of things right over there. 2-0 win for Washington. Heather Stainbrook was forgotten about in the melee after a corner that Nair pushed away. Then, and we're going to get back to this because this was the most consequential moment of the game, we get a double red card in the 69th minute. Ludmila pulls Romande Kouassi's hair, and then Kouassi turns and punches Ludmila in the back. In classic fashion, the ref doesn't see the start of the incident. By the time he is turned around, the punch gets thrown. So Kouassi immediately gets a red card, is sent off. Ludmila gets a yellow because clearly she had something to do with it. He then goes over to VAR. It takes about 10 seconds. Ludmila clearly grabs and pulls Kouassi's hair. Big fat no-no. She is sent off. We don't have official discipline yet, but the league does not need to rush on this because of the international break. They can take their time to kind of do a hearing process and let appeals go. It is my belief, and I believe, Joe, you're going to agree with me, Ludmila, regardless of what the Red Stars do, has played her final game of 2024.
Final game unless they somehow make it to the championship.
This is a 3-game ban, easy, and if they tacked on a 4th, I wouldn't be totally shocked.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially she is a new face of the league. She's one of the highest paid players in the league.
There goes the 3-game scoring streak.
Yeah, there was a 3-game score. Well, that too, but she is a major face of the league. So they have to do something about it or else there will be questions. That hasn't stopped the NWSL from not doing things in the past. The basic, though, is violent conduct, red card, 3-game ban. So it's going to be at least that, which, to your point, Joe, would require the Red Stars to make the NWSL championship game for her to be eligible. This game, the Spirit had 23 shots. 12 of them were on target. Everybody thought that Croy Bethune's injury was going to be like the end of the world for this team, as like the best rookie ever. Nope, they still are good, and they remembered that Ashley Hatch is actually a striker and not a left-sided midfielder, and she's quite good at that. And Trinity Rodman rules. All right, NWSL playoff bubble standings time. We should note that the teams we're not showing you here, Orlando was locked in as the 1. They cannot move. Spirit, Gotham, and the Current will finish 2, 3, and 4 in some order. We don't know, and we won't know until the end of the first weekend of November. North Carolina are stuck at 5. They can't move, which leaves us with this. If you're watching on YouTube, the Red Stars locked in with that X. They are in the playoffs at the 6th seed. Portland currently on 31 points in 7th. Bay FC on 31 points. They are behind Portland on goal differential. Racing Louisville are currently on the outside looking in at 28. The thing that makes this, Joe, super interesting is Racing Louisville are playing the corpse of a soccer team that is the San Diego Wave. So you have to assume that Racing Louisville are going to get all 3 points, and that puts them on 31, which means both Portland and Bay need a result. I can't imagine an NWSL playoffs without the Portland Thorns, so I feel like they're going to get there. The question is, can Bay FC do what they need to on the final day of the season? Again, they're at Houston, a team they should beat. If Racing Louisville and Bay FC both win, then Portland simply needs a result at home against Angel City. I just have the real thought about this all is, why are all these decision day games on different days? I understand you want the
last year. It was awesome.
I understand you want the broadcast rights. They have some of the games on ION and ESPN. I get that you have the broadcast
2 on
partners.
ABC on Sunday.
Yeah, these things do matter. I get it. But with this tight of a race at the bottom of the playoffs, it is patently unfair for some of these teams to already have results in hand or know what they have to do.
Oh, yes.
It's ridiculous.
Portland, Bay, and Racing Louisville play on 3 separate days.
It's insane.
I forget the order it's in, but basically you'll get a situation where whoever's last will get to partially know what they need. And also, if it's real messy and they want to mess it up, pick their opponent. Where does that leave the Red Stars in all of this, you may ask? The Red Stars are on 32 points. They are at Kansas City. Tema Chewinga is on a heater and is going to score in that game.
Yes.
No offense to the Red Stars. It's just going to happen. Although she has already scored against every team, so maybe she's done. I don't know. If you assume the Red Stars do not win that game, they're probably going to be 7th. That's the most likely place for them to end up. We'll get more into the details, though, of who they could play right after we take a short break with some words from those who make this show possible. CHGO Red Stars is brought to you by Coors Light, the official beer of Chicago soccer, as they are the official beer of the Chicago Fire. Between work, social media, life's difficult choices, the stress is all around us, whether that's sports, a busy schedule, or anything else. We're more worked up, we're more stressed than ever, and Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset to take a break from all that busyness. You can turn a rained-out party or barbecue this fall or anything you're doing outside into a karaoke house party, or after a tough loss for your team, you can settle the scores with an ice-cold peace offering. These are times when you can choose chill and then reach for a Coors Light. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment, cold and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. When the mountains turn blue, you know that's how cold your Coors Light is. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open the official beer of Chicago Fire FC, Coors Light.
Hey, Chicago Red Stars FC.
I don't know if there's an official sponsorship there. I don't want to step.
CHGO Goal is the it's CoorsLight.com/CHGO Goal.
Interesting. I don't know why. Hey, people have the reasons. They want to know that you came from this podcast and, not that other podcast. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Goal. That is CHGOGOAL. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. CHGO Red Stars is also brought to you by Shady Rays. They have sunglasses made for your summer adventures. It is basically still summer here in Chicago, and thus, Shady Rays is still in season with you prepped for all of your outdoor activities with their amazing sunglasses, regular or polarized. So many shapes, so many styles, colors, tons of options. There's a reason they have been rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Although they are so good, you should rate them over 5 stars if given the option. If your shades ever get lost, go missing, get damaged with Shady Rays, their lost or broken replacement guarantee is the best deal in all of eyewear. I've taken advantage of it myself and had a great experience with the fine folks at Shady Rays. Or if you buy a pair of shades and you don't love them, you can exchange them for a new pair and return to worry-free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for CHGO listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, Joe, so we're going to take a look at some numbers here and try to figure out how the Red Stars got here and what might be a challenge as they go forward. We mentioned that Ludmila is probably not going to play again this year, but she has made a massive impact since joining the Red Stars. In just 7 games, she's scored 3 goals already, and with her minutes played, that nets out to just over half a goal per 90. She's also been a defensive pressing menace, averaging almost 2.5 tackles per 90 and winning more than 7.5 duels per 90. For the style of combative against-the-ball soccer that the Red Stars are playing right now, Ludmila has been such a good fit, and it's why she's going to be such a big loss.
Yeah, she is She was paid as highly as she was for a reason. She is a premier summer signing for a reason. She is that good. She is that talented. The goals she scored against North Carolina, you should not be able to score against Casey Murphy, who is one of the bigger goalkeepers in the world. She's that talented. Her hold-up play is something the Red Stars have needed for years. And the fact that she is willing to defend the way she does, particularly on set pieces, makes her incredibly valuable to this team that needs to thrive on a counterattack. So when I sound as skeptical as I am about this team entering the playoffs, it's because in such a short time, we've seen how impactful and how crucial Ludmila is when she's on the pitch.
Yeah, and such a big thing was, okay, this is going to take attention away from Swanson. Yep. This is going to help Mallory Swanson. Yep. That has not exactly been the case. Now, partially that's because Ludmila has been the player playing closer to goal. Swanson's a bit more withdrawn. But it's been a rough stretch for Mallory Swanson. This is going back to September 1st. She has played 8 games. She has not scored. That one assist was to Ludmila on a set piece. And she has generated, this is ridiculous per shot, she has generated over 2 expected goals, according to FBref. 2.2 on just 6 shots. That is uncharacteristic for Mal Swanson. That means she's missing big chances, and she has. This is her longest league goal drought since 2018, when she was still just 20 years old. Yep. I think much like we talked about during CHGO Fire, Joe, about how I didn't realize until I looked it up how bad the Fire season had been. Yep. I don't think I realized until I actually went through the stats and went through the history to go back so far. realize just how cold Mal Swanson is right now. I feel like that's kind of been an underrated storyline of where the Red Stars are.
Yeah, and when we were talking about this beforehand, the one thing that is good to think about it is that she's been healthy enough to have this type of, streak without scoring in NWSL.
That is very true.
These things do matter, especially when we thought she had that shoulder injury a couple months ago. And I'm just looking back in my notes. She should have scored against North Carolina on the counter. She's had chances. Just for whatever reason, she doesn't have the confidence in her shot right now. I definitely think her and Ludmila need to figure out how to communicate with each other in the offseason. And I think Swanson needs to try to learn some Spanish or something because it's
Portuguese
so,
too,
or whatever it is. It's so obvious that they're struggling
Maybe
to
French. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, Ludmila speaks Spanish and Portuguese. It's you can see that they're struggling to communicate with each other on the pitch, and we can all relate to that. I think we all would have that struggle in that point, but they're so talented that it's going to take some time, and I think Julia Grosso is going to be part of that too. She just hasn't had the abilities yet that we expect from her in the midfield because she can really set things off in transition when she gets the ball at her feet. So I think this will be a question for the first month of next season.
Right.
Will Ludmila and Mallory Swanson be playing well together and Swanson getting goals? I think it'll happen. It's just incredibly tough to adjust on the fly. And when you consider that it's the third team of strikers that Swanson's had to adjust to this year, right?
Yeah, so, it's like to make a football comparison, Mal Swanson's had a lot of offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
And it's tough and a lot of wide receivers. And it's tough to develop that chemistry in that situation. The other thing is early next year, Sam Staub will be back, and you will assume some recruitment will have been done at other positions in defensive midfield and across the defensive line, which will mean players like Swanson and Julia Grosso in particular won't have to think about defending as much as they currently do. This Red Stars team, though, we talked about Mallory Swanson horribly underperforming her expected goals. Who boy, don't look under the hood of the car that is the Chicago Red Stars. So they have scored 30 goals this season, Joe.
Yes,
that is
have.
8th in NWSL. Okay, that's
Okay.
a little
Makes
low.
sense. Yeah, but where they are in the table, that makes sense.
They have overperformed their XG, it turns out. That includes Mal Swanson getting nothing from 2.2 XG in the last month and a half. Their XG on the season, 28.6. So that kind of tells you that before this Mal stretch, how hot this team was running in terms of finishing. It was always going to come back to earth, but the way it has done via Swanson has been surprising. The bigger standout, though, here is that second half of this. Goals against, 35, 7th place in the league. That's pretty normal. Expected goals against, 43. That's 12th. They have conceded 8 fewer goals than they should have. There are 2 reasons for this. One of them is Alyssa Nair, who, to get really nerdy here, her post-shot expected goal differential, which is post-shot expected goals allowed minus post-shot expected goals, is positive 4.3, which means she has saved more than 4 goals worth of shots you would expect on average her to not save. So that explains about half that difference. The other half is that the Red Stars have gotten lucky and teams have been bad at shooting on the days they happen to play them. Joe, I don't think this is surprising to see, but it's kind of stark to just show that, this Red Stars team, the soccer they're playing isn't particularly great, and yet they have just been kind of glued to this 6th place spot for a while anyway.
Think of them like the Bears this year on a 4th place schedule. They have been beating the bad teams in the league. The only team that they have beaten that's currently in the playoffs is Portland once. In the regular season.
When Portland was bad. That
Portland
first
was
2/3 of the year when Portland mysteriously forgot how to play soccer despite having 7 world-class people in their starting lineup.
And that's it. So this is a team that has done well against the teams they were supposed to do well against.
Exactly mid-table. They are just straight mid-table, even though they are playing like a lower table team. They're getting away with it because, to your point, again, these are aggregate stats over the course of the season. So they're doing well against the bad teams. They're getting pummeled pretty much by the good teams. And that is what it is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they can leverage that in the playoff quarterfinals, which, shout out to the NWSL and their TV partners, even though we don't love the fact that there was not a real decision day, because we know who is hosting all the games. They said, screw what order it's in, we're just going to get these set so we can sell some tickets, so people can plan. Friday night, they're going to have Orlando on Amazon Prime, the Shield winners. Orlando will host whoever finishes 8th. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Couldn't end up with a morning game on Saturday or Sunday. Good morning, Chicago. This is actually where we're most likely to see them end up. Kansas City is at home at 12 Eastern on Saturday, November 9th. That is on big CBS. You can also stream it on Paramount Plus.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the SEC fans who are going to be furious when they see that there's not a game on there in its NWSL game.
Tune into Paul Feinbaum's show on the following Monday for
Legend is going to be so angry.
for more on this developing story. Sunday, 10 a.m. Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern in your NFL first window. I don't know if this is when the Bears are playing.
I think it is.
Oh no, they got flexed. Didn't they get? Isn't this the Commanders game?
No, that's this weekend.
That's this weekend.
Ah, damn.
For the Fire 2 game.
Right. Anyway, so this would be unfortunate also because the Spirit have been quite good against the Red Stars. The Spirit are at home against somebody. Seed to be determined. That's on ABC, 12:30 Eastern. And then it's a doubleheader on ABC, which is pretty cool, on Sunday. And Gotham get the prime slot. Again, not surprising and a decent decision, I think, on my part. If you want to be really cynical about TV ratings, put New York in the prime slot. That's on ABC at 3 Eastern on Sunday. Again, the Red Stars probably not going to play Orlando. No, actually, no, they can't play Orlando. Some weird things would have to happen. So they'll be in one of those Saturday or Sunday slots.
I'm thinking of people having to take the path on a Sunday. That sounds awful to get to that game in New Jersey, and I might be one of them.
It sounds real bad. I'm kind of hoping, to make a selfish point, I'm kind of hoping they get paired with Kansas City so I can maybe finagle or what reason to go see that stadium in person.
I have a couch in D.C. to stay in. See, this is the thing, and I love my sister, but, I really don't want to have to take the path if I stay in New York. So, D.C. seems easy, and I already saw there's a flight out Sunday night, so just saying, D.C.
Bears Patriots at noon.
Oh, I don't need to watch that. I don't need to watch. Oh, gosh.
You know how weird it is for there to be a Bears game that I'm not worried about them losing? What a strange world we live in.
Trap game. Drake May. That
Drake
screams.
May throws for 400
They're
yards.
so bad, New England, too. Yeah, that's...
Anyway, let's set aside our personal opinions and what we want to happen.
Yeah.
He would never say it on the record, but if you're Lorne Donaldson,
Yes.
where do you want to go?
Where do I want to go?
Where do you think Lorne Donaldson wants this game to be?
Probably Washington, because Washington, albeit having the high-flying team, the Red Stars have played really close, and they've shown the ability that when they play the Red Stars' Lorne style of soccer, it can work. The reasons why I don't say Gotham is because I don't think the Red Stars are due. I think that would also go poorly. And Kansas City, the Red Stars already kind of played their perfect game of the year against them. It would be really tough. That's going to be a really, really tough environment. Having said that, the idea, now that I'm talking it out, the idea of potentially eliminating that Kansas City team at their stadium, the first year of that stadium, would be really fun. So I amend my answer to Kansas City.
And we might get a preview of that, honestly, here, because the Red Stars on November 3rd, their final regular season game, they will be at Kansas City. And so depending on how things work out that day, and because that's a Sunday game, we're going to know right after that. The Red Stars might just hang out in Kansas City for the week. That's one where you...
I don't wish that on my enemies, man.
Hey, that's a situation where you tell people to pack extra. And, hey, maybe someone through the grapevine can get Taylor Swift's number and determine what the nicest things you can possibly do in Kansas City, because I'm sure Taylor had somebody figure that out for her at some point, and maybe there's some little guide somewhere they can pass along.
Joe's Barbecue. It's in a gas station.
Oh no, the best Kansas City barbecue places. I can't even remember the one that I put on
Stacks,
20
Arthur
pounds. I don't know. It was on the side of a road, 10 miles outside of downtown, and it was the greatest food I've ever eaten. So that's another reason. Kansas City, cool stadium, closest to here, barbecue. Yeah. I think I've made my decision. All right, we're gonna take one more quick break. After this, we're gonna do some U.S. Women's National Team talk and wrap things up. First, another quick word from the folks who make this possible. That includes Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, and a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to come explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of very high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, your fall, or any season. Excuse me.
You got elevated right there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Sunnyside is your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs with their expertly curated menu, including over 100 strains to choose from and new items added every week. They also have super easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Their friendly staff are also super helpful when you're in there to pick up, or if you just want to stop in and ask a few questions if you are new to the experience. If you are just starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. Or if you're a pro, they've got you covered with over 100 strains on that big ever-changing menu, and they know you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. It's super easy again to order online. They are there to help in store. So visit sunnyside.shop. That's sunnyside.shop for great buys every day, including 50% off your first 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 purchases when you use code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. Also, shout out once again to the CHGO Bears crew and Law and everybody else behind the scenes for pulling off what looked to be an absolutely awesome trip to London a couple weekends ago. As somebody who loves London and loves the Bears, very, very jealous, but it looked like a great time, and the Bears helped make it so with that dominating win over the Jaguars. If you missed that but would like to be in on the next CHGO Bears adventure, they are headed out to Phoenix on November 3rd to watch the Bears take on the Arizona Cardinals. More information on that is available on the events page at allchgo.com. Also, right now, we've got a great deal if you feel right now is the right time for you to become a CHGO diehard. And why wouldn't you feel that way?
It is.
We are building the biggest and best community of Chicago sports fans, and we want you to be a part of it. So much so, we're giving you a special offer with our lowest rate ever. Become a CHGO diehard today for just $4 a month, billed annually. That is right, just $48 a year. Gets you a free t-shirt, access to exclusive written content, lots of discounts, including on things like those awesome events, and access to the CHGO Discord Lounge, where we are all hanging out and talking Chicago sports. We've got channels for everything, a Fire channel, a Red Stars channel, a General Soccer channel, among everything else. This is a limited time offer, so act now. Visit allchgo.com/intro to sign up today. All right, Joe, before we get out of here, it is an international break on the women's side, which means it is time for the U.S. women's national team to have officially their victory tour for their gold medal. Alyssa Nair and Mallory Swanson are, of course, in the squad. There are 3 matches. The first 2 are against Iceland, and then the third one is against Argentina. The games will be played in Austin, Nashville, and Louisville on Thursday, Sunday, and Thursday. If I'm Emma Hayes, I'm assuming there's lots of agreements in place that Thursday game that comes just 2 days before the final match weekend of the NWSL regular season, you're not going to see anybody playing whose team is playing with any stakes on that day. Basically, if you are a Chicago, Portland, Racing Louisville, or Bay FC player, congratulations, you will probably be sent home before that game.
It would be hilarious if they aren't. Honestly, if Emma Hayes just says, no, I'm going to do what I want, I doubt it'll happen, but oh my gosh.
Start Mal Swanson in the first 2 games and send her home, please. Thank you very much.
Yes,
same with Alyssa Nair. We can do that. There's a bunch of fun call-ups. We'll get to a few of those in a minute, who you can play in that game against Argentina, and it's not that big a deal. Let's look at those, some interesting call-ups, Joe, because it's mostly the same people you would expect. The 2 snubs, I don't even know if you could call them snubs. People I wanted to see there, Claire Hutton, defensive midfielder for Sporting Kansas City, is still
Casey
just
Current.
so young. Wow, Casey Current. My brain is scrambled eggs.
We've had a long day.
It's been a long day. I've had a long weeks.
How many games have you broadcast and are going to broadcast this weekend included?
Last weekend it was 5. This next one is 4. And
He works hard, y'all.
If I include Wednesday, that will be 10 in the span. It was 9 in the span of 8 days. It's going to be like 20 in the span of 18 if you extrapolate it out. It's a lot.
It's awesome.
Anyway, it's mostly the usual inclusions. No Hutton, though, which is a little disappointing. I'm guessing that's a Vlatko Adanovsky request of we're playoff prepping, and I don't want to put too many minutes on a 19-year-old's legs.
Yeah. She can't play that much.
Not even 18? I forget. She's a teenager.
Yep.
Anyway, the other one in this one's unfortunate because these are just friendlies, is no Lily Johannes. That's especially sad because Ajax got knocked out of the Champions League in the qualifying stages, which means they're going to win every game they play this season by 5 or 6 goals without trying. Lily already has 2 direct free kick goals in the Eredivisie Women League this season, so that's going well. She was also just nominated for the Golden Girl Award for the best, basically under 18 player in the world. So that's pretty neat. But unfortunately, she is not here. And basically the answer was she is still not ready to make any sort of commitments, which, again, she wouldn't have to for this camp. It's a long flight, whatever. We could still be sad about it. New faces, though, to join in with the usual core. We've got, and also cool here, and shout out Emma Hayes for bringing in a couple older players, more experienced players who have...
Gotta do it.
Again, for so long, the U.S. women's national team was a club team, and club form didn't matter. Yep. Emma Hayes has made some very clear statements that club form matters. Let's start with Alyssa Mallinson, fullback for Bay FC, 25 years old. She only played 4 games in 2 years while contracted to OL Reign, got loaned out to Denmark, but Bay FC still took her as their first pick in the expansion draft, and that has been rewarded so thoroughly. I was looking at her fun FB ref bar chart today, and the way they, in the men's game, they break it down a lot into like tiers of leagues. For women's stats, it's the top 9 domestic leagues in the world are what they compare across. She's in the top 6% of fullbacks across those leagues for tackles, interceptions, clearances, and aerials won on a per 90 basis. She's had a great NWSL season and is rewarded with this call-up. Next up, slightly less interesting, but still notable because she has no caps, is Emily Sams. She's a center back from Orlando. She was a training player at the Olympics, made the bench a couple of times. She has started 23 out of 24 games for the Orlando Pride this year, been an anchor in that winning team. And as the USWNT look forward on the defensive core, Joe, I think these are 2 players who we could see get significant minutes potentially in the years to come.
Yeah, it's good that Emma Hayes is going to do this now. You need to just give people confidence, give people hope that there is still a possibility, or be honest with them and say it's just not going to happen. The one thing that really does stink about all of this is when you hear these rotations, especially in the back line, it does make you think, oh, if Sam Staub were healthy, she'd be getting some of these calls.
If Sam Staub were healthy, she might have been starting in the gold medal match at the
Exactly.
Olympics because of the situation they got in with cards and injuries in the Olympics. So the other newcomer that's the result of having a great season, Yasmin Ryan from Gotham.
So good.
25 years old as well. Arguably Gotham's best player this season, and she's probably like the 15th highest earner on the roster, so that's pretty cool. 4 goals, 4 assists for her. Another player who I assume will probably get a more run in like that Argentina game, might get a start there and have some fun with that. And then the other 2 I want to touch on, Joe, are 2 players who were dropped from the national team, understandably so at the time, and have been brought back in because they're killing it. One of whom we've talked about already today, that is Ashley Sanchez, the attacking midfielder from the North Carolina Courage. She last appeared for the national team in the pre-Olympic friendlies last summer before not making the final squad. She has 5 goals and 4 assists this year. Well-deserved. And then the biggest gainer, though, the player who I didn't understand why she was ever called into the national team in the first place. It just didn't make sense, and then she kept getting calls. It was way too much pressure to put on a teenager. But Alyssa Thompson is literally and figuratively all the way back. She is still only 19. She will turn 20 on November 7th. 5 goals, 7 assists for her this season. She played 17 total minutes at the World Cup. Hadn't been seen since. It's been so awesome to see. It could have been so easy for her confidence to just be absolutely demolished. And instead, she has come back in this NWSL season, put in a performance that's, she's not going to make best 11, I don't think, but she's going to be in contention for it.
She'll get votes, and she's one of the, first off, I don't know, Sydney Leroux's goal from the weekend. Watch Alyssa Thompson's reaction to it. She's all of us. She is all of us. Alyssa Thompson is part of what you talk about with this U.S. women's national team in the building through generations of stuff. When you see that her and Alyssa Nair are spending time together off the pitch during camps, a 19-year-old with someone in their 30s, these things matter, and this is where I think that confidence remains. When you can maintain that conversation with the veterans who you know are always going to be there, and to know that you still have advocates in the building for you, especially in a regime change. So am I surprised that Alyssa Thompson, one of the most, confident young people you'll ever see go on a pitch? No, but to see her bounce back as productively as she has following that first little hiccup, kudos to her, because many wouldn't be able to do that.
I think her sister being a pro and being on the team this year, too, has probably helped. They're only a year apart. Giselle's gotten some run at fullback. You want to feel really old, because I just realized this as you said it. The difference in age between Alyssa Nair and Alyssa Thompson is approximately the age of Lily Johannes. And yeah, that's let's not think about that too much. But yeah, it was just so much pressure to put on Thompson. Her debut came off the bench at Wembley against England. And it's like, Vlatko, what are we doing, man? Like, it's cool you want to play the kids, but like, why did you pick this kid? There are other kids playing.
You have to be a specific type of embrace the hater to debut at Wembley on the road.
Alyssa Thompson went from playing against high school boys because it was the only level she could find that she fit at. She was playing on a U17's MLS Next team in high school. She went from that to playing against England at Wembley Stadium in less than a year. That's bananas, and you have to have a crazy mentality to be able to handle it as well as she has. All right, we're just about out of time for this episode of CHGO Red Stars. Joe Chats, thank you for sticking around.
My pleasure.
Company.
At least I can do. I appreciate it. It's really just for Lawrence.
Oh, well.
And the parking spot.
And the parking spot. Also,
parking,
you saw how my voice was starting to fall apart anyway. Imagine what it would sound like by this point if I had to do double the talking during this episode. Again, the Red Stars play the Kansas City Current at 2 p.m. on Sunday, November 3rd, to round out their regular season schedule. The hope is there will be a pod that is after that, but before the playoff game. We got to look at our schedules around here to see what works best, because obviously we're kind of in unknown territory now as we head into the playoffs. So stay tuned to the CHGO socials, specifically the CHGO Red Stars Twitter, for updates on when that next show is going to be. Hopefully we can get a couple guests in here at the same time and really talk about the excitement that is the Red Stars in the playoffs. But for Lawrence behind the scenes today and for Joe Chats, I am Alex Campbell. This has been CHGO Red Stars, and I'll talk to you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.